Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for watching this next video. I'm hoping if you watched my first video, you're thinking things got to be getting better. So thank you for watching this video. Um, First things first, safety. Safety is your responsibility, not mine. This is not a how-to video. This is just some idiot doing something, and you're getting entertainment value out of it. This is not a how-to. Like I said, you are responsible for your safety, not me. Next, okay, I sure hope I'm getting better. I Just to prove that I've been trying, I actually bought some video editing software. It's really nice. I like it. Hopefully, you guys notice a difference. Um, I learned that GoPros are nice. I actually have a bunch of cheap GoPros, and I'm using GoPro as a generic term. And I also have one nicer 4K one, but it's still not a GoPro. But I do have GoPros. But when it comes to actually making the footage where you get to see me talk or point out something, nothing's better than my cell phone. I have an S20 Samsung, and it seems to be doing the best. And I figured out that the only way to get better at something is to just do it. You don't you don't get you don't get good at this by just planning it out in your head. You have to physically do it. Um, Also, you'll notice with the in this footage, I should have set up the watt meter first. I've learned from that. I'll probably try to set up shots ahead of time so that they just easily transition into it. Um, what we plan to learn, is the startup power. How much power does the stove pull to get itself to a point where it is no longer running the heating element. It's just running. Running power is pretty much what it's at for the rest of the time. And how long does startup take? Because startup may be a quite large number, but if it's only for like the first 10 to 30 minutes, it doesn't really matter because it's the running power that is going to help us figure out how much power the Peltiers need to make to keep it running. I was never trying to make the Peltiers make enough power to get over the startup power. The startup power is probably a ridiculous number that the Peltiers will never be able to stay at. But running power is what I'm shooting for. Um, that's about it. This video is gonna pretty much segue into the video you're about to watch. Um, when that video is over, you'll see this board again with the information on it and a couple other notes. Thank you for watching this video. Okay, this is me pretty much documenting the stove. I figure I'd put steps 2 and 3 together. You're going to see the stove, and I'm going to document it today. For anybody that is not familiar with a pellet stove, this is what a pellet stove is. Pellets go in the back, and they pretty much slowly feed into the fire chamber, and it's a wood stove. Basically, that's the wall that I was going to drill through to put the steel line through, and that is the side of the stove that I was going to place the water blocks. It's just like any other stove. It's a little dark back there, but it has an air inlet, and it has the I think that's called double or triple wall pipe for the exhaust. There's a stack outside. On the side here, you'll see it when I turn it on because it'll glow red. But when it first turns on, it's going to say SU, meaning startup. Startup is when it pulls its most power, and that's what I want to see. I want to see how much power it pulls once it starts up, and once it goes to 2 numbers, it should be a 2 and a 1. You can adjust those for more heat, and the 2 is the first 2 is how fast you're feeding pellets into it, and the second number, I have it at a 1, is the blower speed, how fast it's blowing like a traditional heater. I leave it at 2-in-1 because this trailer is quite small. But like I said, you'll see in the beginning that it says SU, which means startup. It is going to pull its most amount of power, and that should take 15-20 minutes. You're going to see me setting stuff on top of the stove. I am not leaving this thing running all day. It's not going to get hot enough to burn anything. I just want to see the whole cycle and how much power it pulls. So I got 3 cameras, and I'm going to set them up in a way where I'm not great at this, but I'm going to try to set it up in a way in the video where it lets you see the tripod view with the flame and everything. When I'm pointing out stuff, you're going to see the camera in my hand, and then I have another little GoPro that's going to be aiming at a watt meter, so we can see this all in real time. I tried to sync the cameras up before I started talking to get it all to sync up, so you'll see everything at once. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close the top. Okay. You guys already saw the fire chamber. I have the other GoPro aiming at it, so I'm going to close it up. Okay, so it's shut, and I'm going to, like I said, it's specifically not going to get hot enough for this to bother anything. So I'm going to aim the other GoPro at that. If I can get it to a good enough view where it's not a horrible glare. So everything's at 120 volts. I'm setting it to monitor. Let's see if it'll let me do amps. So okay, so now it's set as watts. Man, I wish that glare wasn't on it. There's got to be a better way. This was so much easier when I was planning it in my head. Okay. I hope that's good enough. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to hit the... I know it's hard for you to see, but you'll see when it lights up. I'm going to hit the on button. And 1 and 0 is going to turn into a SU, meaning startup, in a second. And it looks like it's already pulling about 350 watts. So there's SU, startup. So I'm going to step away and let things happen. So I'm seeing about 350, still about 350. Yep, still about 350. I know it's kind of hard to see, but the little auger in there is turning, and it's going to start pushing pellets into it. That's still about 350. I guess on the bright side, if I let this all run real time, I'll know how long it stays at 350 before it's in its regular run mode. And because it should only pull this much power in the very beginning. I'm going to take and adjust the tripod a little better so you can actually see into the fire. If you look now, you can see that it's pushing pellets in, and it only feeds this fast in the beginning, because if it actually ran at this speed the whole time, it would it actually over temp. It has the ability to shut itself down if any of its sensors get too hot. It looks like we're still seeing 350 to 370. If you look, you're starting to see a little bit of sparks in there. That's from the heating element lighting up. That's pretty much what takes the most amount of power. But like it was, oh, there it goes, just lit. This area here is where I'm going to be mounting the water blocks. If I remember correctly from when I checked this before, it's about 250, 300 on the top. And that's mainly because there's actually a blower motor that will pull from here and push from here. So this isn't actually the physical top, but it gets to about 250, 300. And the side sits between about 500 and 650. So I'm actually thinking what I might do is start the whole process off with one of my modules and just set it on the top and see what it does at 250 before I apply it straight to 300 and 350 to 650. That's why I was saying I need to figure out a medium that goes between the two, because man, that's a lot of temperature. I'm just trying to be safe in the beginning. The other tests that I've done with this is via actually buried line outside in the permafrost, and sometimes just tossing metal blocks that I had set up in a way on like a camp stove or like here we have burn barrels where I guess you could say we're a bunch of hobos, but we got burn barrels everywhere. It's a quick way to get warm. So we're slowly getting there. I wish I'd without going back in time, I'll probably add to it once I get home to edit the video. But I wish I'd have seen how long it's been going right now. But we're at still about 350. It's bouncing between like a 350 and a 370. And we are still in startup. Sorry, my hand. Yep. I guess while this runs, I can step outside and show you how it's going to be entering. Like my shitty trailer. Sorry, shitty trailer. That's why I have the ability to draw a hole in a wall and not really matter. But that's pretty much the wood stove's corner. That's a restroom, kitchen area. That's refrigerator. When I do stay out here, that's my cot that I sleep in. It's kind of like my computer area, but there's not much out here. Wood stove shit. We actually have a Toyo that that runs off heating oil. That's currently what's heating this place. Stove, tools. Actually, let's see if the camera will tell you what temperature it is outside. So it's 22 degrees outside, and it's about 40 in here. The wood stove hasn't been running. The wood stove is not going to put out any heat while I'm here, because I'm going to shut it down before it matters. And the 40 degrees is because the Toyo has been on for about 40 minutes. But as you step outside, so that's my trailer. That's the exhaust pipe. Inlet for the air, cold air in, hot air out. What I'm planning on doing is drilling through somewhere right about here and having steel lines follow up the wall and around the manual thermostat. Have starting off with one radiator, but it'd be here with the coolant lines and everything. But basically, that's my trailer. It's a little wood area that my father had built. This was his trailer before it was mine. It's only been mine for a little while. We're gonna step back inside. Alternate battery banks. Here in Alaska, you always have a plan A and a plan B. That's why we have two heaters. When we were completely off grid, we had two inverters and basically a primary and an auxiliary battery bank. That's why we have two heaters. We actually have multiple generators, but don't really use the generators anymore now that we have some power coming from a pole. They installed electricity along the highway because of mine that's down the way, and luckily I'm close enough to the highway that I was able to tie to it. Okay, so got a good fire going. We're still at about 340, 350. And with it saying 350, I know it still says start up on the side. But kind of running out of stuff to talk about, sorry. Here, I'm gonna pause for a second with this camera and let the other two run, because you don't really need to hear me talk, so I'm gonna stop it. like I said, I hope that video was much better than the other stuff I've put out, and I'm still trying to get better. The startup power you saw was between about 350 to 380. You saw it the whole time that was live. It averaged, I'd say, about 375, because it was never at one point very long. 350 to 380, average about 375. The running power, the reason you see three numbers is if you watched all the way to the end, you saw it pretty much drop to 80, and 80 is with no blower. That is, there's no blower running. With the blower sitting at 1, like I was saying before, I use a 2 and a 1. 2 being how fast it's feeding pellets, 1 at how fast it's spinning the blower. 80 being 0, the blower's not turning. 1 being as low as the blower goes, sits at about 100, and it being in the dead center medium, it pulls about 130 watts with the blower on medium. But it will almost always be between 80 and 100 because that's where I keep it. The trailer's small. So there's that. And if you actually pay attention to the timestamps, at 5:28 is when I turn it on, and at 22:44 is when it kicks out of startup and it's the element is no longer lit. It's running off its own fire, and that's for a total of 17 minutes and 16 seconds. That's pretty much all we really wanted to get out of this. Let me check my notes to make sure I'm not leaving anything off. Yeah, that's about it. The next video I plan on making is it's pretty much you're pretty much tired of watching this kind of shit. So I'm going to build one module. It's at 20 degrees out there right now. It's too hot for me to leave the stove running, and I'm not going to go out there and let the stove get up to full temp and use the laser to figure out what temps it's at, because it's just going to get ridiculously hot in that trailer. This time of year, if you actually check the news, Alaska's pretty warm right now. We're not supposed to be this warm. People joke around about global warming. We're not supposed to be this warm. 20, 22 degrees right now is ridiculous. We should be sitting at a solid zero. So I'm going to skip the mapping the stove, because I know the top's about 250, 300, and I know the bottom is about 500, 650. So the next video I make is going to be me assembling one of the modules. Hope to see y'all. Like I said before, I apologize, but there's so much work in the video portion of making these than it is to just do the work. I don't mean to offend anybody, but if it don't seem like anybody's watching, I'm just gonna stop. Sorry. Y'all have a good day.